Incredible 12-year-old boy's heartwarming sacrifice of all $500 to save his mother's life revealed. Charlie West stood at the edge of the hospital bed, tears pooling in his eyes as he watched his mother, Lisa, breathe in shallow, painful gasps. The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry bees, slicing through the stillness of the small room. To anyone else, she was just another patient in a tired gown, but to Charlie, she was the world. At just 12, his mind raced, wrapping around the reality of his mother's rare illness. The diagnosis felt like a punch to the gut, and every sleepless night added weight to his heart. He was her little soldier, battling alongside her in this unforgiving war. After months filled with sleepless nights and hospital visits, Charlie had saved his money meticulously, every birthday dollar, every chore penny totaling $500. A small fortune for a boy in this town, yet it felt minuscule against the looming bill of his mother's expensive treatment. His heart raced each time he thought of the stack hidden underneath his bed. "Mom, I'll do whatever it takes," he whispered to her frail form, his soul burning with determination. News of Lisa's condition spread quickly. Neighbors, friends, even people he hardly knew began reaching out, organizing barbecues, bake sales, a whirlwind of community effort that made Charlie's heart swell with bittersweet pride. Wait, his fingers trembled, would they even need his savings? But with every flyer passed and poster hung in town, Charlie felt caught in a moral tug-of-war. Then, Mr. Jenkins, the local businessman, made his offer. A chance to save his mother's life, but at what cost? The catch tied itself to his conscience like a heavy chain. Promote Jenkins' latest product at school, a product that could hurt the environment. It gnawed at him. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With trembling hands, Charlie shuffled toward the hospital cashier's desk. The air smelled sterile and cold, but all he could think of was the warmth of his mother's smile. He took a deep breath, ready to surrender his entire life's savings, believing it was the nobler path. Just as he handed over the cash, something flickered in his mind, a spark of hope. In a nearby room, he overheard voices. Veterans. Townsfolk. They were drowning in excitement, announcing the establishment of a secret fund dedicated solely to Lisa's treatment. She's given so much. It's our turn to help her, one man said. Charlie's heart thudded painfully against his ribcage, a mix of overwhelming relief and guilt washing over him. The community he had underestimated had rallied behind them, embodying love and dignity. But he couldn't shake off the questions swirling in his mind. How would his mother receive this help? And what of the sacrifice he was so ready to make? With warmth enveloping him like a blanket and new confidence igniting within, Charlie stepped back, realizing that he was part of something greater. The universe of love and sacrifice had its own course, and little did he know that he was on the brink of a journey that would test every fiber of his being. As he stood there, his heart swelling like a balloon, Charlie knew he was about to learn powerful lessons about integrity, love, and the strength of his community. Charlie turned from the cashier's desk, his heart still racing, but a sense of empowerment surged within him. He didn't need to sacrifice his savings, the community had come through for them. Even as he walked out of the sterile corridor, he felt eyes on him, friendly, supportive eyes from folks who had come together to ensure Lisa would get the care she desperately needed. It was a strange mix of joy and confusion, and he vowed to figure out how to make the most of this unexpected kindness. Outside, the cool air wrapped around him, and Charlie took a moment to catch his breath. The vibrant chatter of people preparing for the upcoming fundraiser echoed in the background, a tapestry of laughter and shouts mingling with the smell of hot dogs and baked goods. The town was alive with hope. Charlie had known they were nice, but this was something entirely different. This was community in action. For days, Charlie watched as people rallied together, setting up tables, painting signs, and discussing their individual talents. There was Mrs. Thompson, the art teacher, organizing craft booths. Mr. Martinez, the football coach, rallying up the kids for a charity game. Even high schoolers he barely knew dropped by with treats for the bake sale. Every smile, every slice of pie, felt like a lifeline thrown to him and his mom. "Charlie!" A voice called, breaking him from his thoughts. It was Ellie, his best friend, her ponytail swinging as she rushed over. "You're coming to the fundraiser, right? It's going to be amazing." "Yeah, I wouldn't miss it," he replied, forcing a smile, though inside he still felt knots of uncertainty. "Good. You've got to see the surprise we're planning for Mrs. West." She rushed on, eyes sparkling. "Everyone loves her, and we want this to show her how much." Curiosity bubbled in Charlie's chest. A surprise? For his mom? He felt a warmth spread through him. It turned the uncertainty into something tangible and beautiful. Maybe he didn't need to carry this weight alone after all. The people around him were carrying it too, and they wanted to help. As the day approached, Charlie found himself becoming more involved in the preparations. He helped Ellie with flyers, folding and cutting paper, feeling a sense of purpose as he tapped into creativity he never knew he had. The boy who had worried about losing everything now found joy in giving, sharing laughter and ideas. It was as if the act of helping others lifted the fog that had clouded his mind. Finally, the day of the fundraiser arrived. The town square was adorned with colorful banners and filled with bustling booths, each bustling with chatter and laughter. Charlie's heart fluttered as he saw familiar faces mingling with those he hardly recognized, all united for one common cause. He felt like he was part of a movement much larger than just his family. Just as he was about to take it all in, a sudden commotion drew his attention. Voices grew louder, and the crowd shifted. Charlie's heart sank, sensing a tension he couldn't place. He squeezed through the crowd, desperate to see what was happening. And that's when he saw it, Mr. Jenkins, standing at the center of a debate, speaking passionately about the product Charlie had felt so uneasy about promoting. "Why should you support Lisa when you could support a local business?" Jenkins shouted, his face flushed with conviction. Charlie's stomach churned. Was Jenkins using this moment of hope to push his agenda? The thought was like ice water down his spine. And suddenly, Charlie faced a choice. Would he stand up or stay silent? Did he have the courage to confront the very man whose offer had weighed so heavily on his heart? As he stood there, uncertainty danced in his veins, Charlie realized he had just entered a new chapter, a real test of his integrity. Would he speak out for his mother and the community that had held him up? The moment was tense, his decision looming like a dark cloud overhead. But he knew one thing, he had to act. He took a deep breath, stepping forward, ready to voice his truth. Charlie took a deep breath and stepped forward, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. The crowd hushed, a wave of curiosity rippling through the onlookers as they turned to see what this young boy would do. Each face reflected a mix of concern and expectancy, and Charlie could feel their hopes resting on his shoulders. "Mr. Jenkins." Charlie called out, his voice trembling yet determined. "That's not fair. This isn't about businesses, it's about my mom. It's about us coming together to help each other." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Some nodded, others whispered among themselves, surprised at his boldness. Charlie locked eyes with Mr. Jenkins, who seemed taken aback, anger flickering across his face like lightning. "You're just a kid," Jenkins snapped. "You don't understand how the world works. Every cent should go to supporting local businesses. This isn't right." Charlie felt his cheeks heat up. Would Jenkins really dismiss him just because of his age? He straightened his back, steeling himself. "I may be a kid, but I know what community means. We can support local businesses another time, but right now, we have a chance to help someone we love." This isn't just about money, it's about heart. Suddenly, Charlie felt a wave of warmth at his back. It was Ellie, standing beside him. Her presence felt like strength, a reminder that he wasn't alone in this fight. Yeah. Ellie piped up. We're doing this for Mrs. West. Everybody here cares about her. We want to please her, and this is how we can do it. The audience started murmuring louder now, their conversations merging into a swell of support. Charlie could see nods and smiles, the initial tension beginning to dissolve into something uplifting. He felt hope blooming inside him, a real possibility that love could drown out cynicism. Charlie's right. Mrs. Thompson stepped forward, clutching her colorful craft supplies. This town is about coming together. We can't forget our values for a profit. We support businesses every day. Today, we support a family in pain. As more voices chimed in, the crowd intensified. There was laughter, agreement, and a chorus of support. Charlie felt the tide turning, a growing momentum, as people began to reposition their stance. Perhaps Mr. Jenkins had underestimated them all. With a tough look, Jenkins started to back down, his bravado retreating into a shell. He glanced around, perhaps realizing that his push had stirred a community spirit, not a division. Fine, he finally said, a mix of frustration and acceptance in his voice. Let us see how well this works out for you, then. As he stepped back into the milling crowd, Charlie's heart soared. He hadn't just defended his mother, he had ignited something deeper in the hearts of those around him. The cheers erupted, not just for him but for unity, for kindness, for love. In that moment, Charlie felt magical. The fear that had knotted his insides began to unravel, replaced by the realization that their collective strength could influence change. Ellie squeezed his hand, and for the first time in weeks, he let out a laugh, a genuine sound of joy that bubbled up uncontrollably. But that joy was soon eclipsed by a lingering question: had they truly swayed enough hearts? What if Mr. Jenkins and others who felt the same kept pushing back? Would this grand fundraiser be enough to cover all costs for Lisa's treatment? As the day progressed, Charlie's thoughts flickered back to that relentless uncertainty. He knew the battle was far from over, that every second mattered, and today this moment was merely the beginning. Charlie gazed at the crowd buzzing with excitement, determined to keep fighting for his mom and their community's support. Little did he know then that his biggest challenge was still ahead, one that would test the ties binding them all together. How far would they go for love? Would they be able to rise against every obstacle that came their way? As these thoughts raced through his mind, he realized that the real journey was just beginning. As the event unfolded, the atmosphere shifted into one of palpable excitement. Vendors bustled about, setting up their stalls while donations poured in from every corner. Charlie felt a lightness in his chest, the kind that comes before a storm. Hope was building, but so was the dread of what lay ahead. Weeks of planning had come down to this single day, and he couldn't shake the feeling that they still needed more. The chatter around him mingled with the aromatic scent of freshly baked goods and the cheerful sounds of children laughing. But in the midst of laughter and joy, Charlie's mind was racing. Could they really raise enough money? Hey, Charlie. Ellie's voice broke through his thoughts. Look at this. She pointed to a sparkling booth with Mrs. Thompson's crafts laid out beautifully, glistening in the afternoon sun. Wow, she really outdid herself. Charlie exclaimed, his spirits lifting as he admired the vibrant colors. Yeah, and she said every penny goes to your mom. Ellie smiled, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. They moved through the crowd, each stall standing testament to their community's strength. Yet, every few moments, Charlie caught sight of Mr. Jenkins lurking near the edge of the festival, arms crossed and brow furrowed. He felt a lump form in his throat. Did Jenkins truly believe that capitalism held stronger than compassion? As the day drew on, the donations began to accumulate. Each dollar collected felt like a small victory, a step toward what Charlie hoped would alleviate his mother's pain. But as the sun began to set, a knot returned in his stomach. Charlie, Ellie said, her tone suddenly serious. What if we don't have enough? What will happen then? Her question hung in the air, unspoken fears spiraling between them. Charlie felt panic rise at the thought of what failure would mean not just for him, but for his mother. His heart clenched. He forced himself to breathe. I don't know, Ellie, but I can't let that happen. I have to keep trying. We have to convince more people to donate. His voice was resolute, but deep inside, doubt gnawed at him. He couldn't shake off the worry. Okay. Let us make some noise. We can organize a chant or something. Ellie suggested, bouncing on her feet, her enthusiasm infectious even in the uncertainty. As they rallied more kids to join them, Charlie felt something shift within himself. Wasn't he that what a community was? It wasn't just about dollars, it was about belief, determination, and love, those invisible ties that connected them all. I know we can do this. For Mrs. West, he yelled, and the crowd started to echo back, for Mrs. West. The chant swelled, turning into a chorus that wrapped around him like a comforting embrace. But just as he was feeling fueled by their collective power, Charlie's heart stumbled when he noticed Mr. Jenkins stepping towards them again, eyes flaring with irritation. This time, however, there was something else, determination mixed with fear. Charlie took a deep breath. He could either back down and succumb to doubt, or step up and take a stand once more. As the crowd cheered into the evening, the stakes raised higher, and Charlie silently vowed to fight for every heartbeat, every chance to save his mom. Would he find the key to challenge Jenkins and turn the tide for good? What would it take to unite the town once and for all? The answers lingered like a shadow in the twilight. The air crackled with energy, voices rising and falling like waves crashing on a shore. Charlie took that moment to scan the crowd, heart beating a frantic rhythm. He could feel the weight of each eye on him, the hopes and fears mingling into an unspoken challenge as Mr. Jenkins approached. Charlie. Jenkins's voice lanced through the buzz, sharp and intrusive. The crowd grew silent, a shared tension coursing through them. You think this is going to solve anything? Charity. It's a band-aid on a bullet wound. The words bit deep, a cruel reminder of reality. Charlie felt the heat rise to his cheeks. He turned to Ellie, who seemed equally stunned by Jenkins's sudden outburst. But rather than allowing doubt to swallow him whole, he took a step forward. The chant for Mrs. West had died down, but the fire within him wouldn't flicker out so easily. What we're doing here is about more than money, Mr. Jenkins. Charlie shouted, his voice steady. It's about community. It's about love. You might think the world is cold, but we're showing that we care. Ellie nodded, rallying her friends, and the chant reignited, a wave of For Mrs. West. For Mrs. West. Rising once more. Jenkins frowned, arms still crossed. You think that's enough? You think that love pays for medical bills? You're naive, kid. Charlie's heart raced, not with fear but with something else, an urgency. Maybe love isn't a currency, but it's worth more than you think. So many people are coming together because they believe in something bigger than themselves. This town believes in Mrs. West. They believe in fighting for those they love. The crowd swelled, nodding along with him. He could see faces lighting up with determination, hearts intertwining into a shared goal. Even as the sky turned a softer shade of indigo, the fire in Charlie didn't wane. Against the backdrop of his adversity, a wave of revelation washed over him. Jenkins, if you saw your child sick and in need, wouldn't you move mountains? The question hung thick in the air. For a heartbeat, Jenkins stood still, his hardened expression cracking just a fraction. This isn't about me, he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. But Charlie couldn't help but notice how his resolve seemed to falter, a hint of vulnerability breaking through the walls he had built. That moment sparked something powerful, a ripple of connection among the crowd. A woman stepped forward, tears in her eyes. We're here for you, Charlie. She called out. We're here for Mrs. West. With that, the momentum shifted. New voices joined the chorus, each word building a bridge over doubt and fear. Charlie looked back at Jenkins. Perhaps, he thought, even the hardest hearts can soften when faced with enough love. The energy swirled around him like autumn leaves dancing in a brisk wind. But just as hope began to fill every crevice of the gathering, the unmistakable sound of a siren pierced the melody of the night. Charlie turned sharply, anxiety gripping him. What had he done to attract attention? What if they were shutting everything down? Would they be sent home without the chance to save his mom? As strong as their collective voices were, the arrival of more police hinted at unforeseen complications. Did the authorities disagree with the event or fear for safety? What would that mean for their cause? The sirens faded into the distance, but the weight of uncertainty loomed heavy. Charlie could feel his heart racing all over again. Would they lose everything just when they were starting to gain momentum? With the festival swinging precariously between triumph and despair, Charlie's resolve wasn't shattered. It ignited further, pushing him to confront the unknown. He had to figure out how to turn this situation around. But how would he do it without losing the support of the very community he was fighting for? As he stood there facing the crowd, Charlie wondered, was this truly just the beginning, or the point at which everything would change? The siren's wail faded into an uneasy silence, but the tension in Charlie's chest remained. He scanned the crowd, searching for a sign of what to do next. The energy that had sparked moments ago now hung uncertainly, like the pause before the lightning strike. "Hey!" he called out, hoping to catch their attention. "Listen up." Slowly, the murmurs became hushed. The familiar faces around him, friends, neighbors, even the barista from the coffee shop, looked back expectantly. "We're here. Together. Nothing can take that away." Ellie stepped up beside him, her hand reaching for his. "Exactly. We need to stay strong, no matter what. It's not over yet." Charlie nodded, but his mind whirled with anxiety. What if the cops were here to shut them down? What if Mrs. West couldn't accept this help after all? He felt the knot in his stomach twist tighter. But then it hit him, they just needed a plan. Let's make a statement. The words slipped out before he even thought about them. If the police are here, let us show them what we're doing. This is our community. They can't just silence us. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. He took a deep breath. We can stand together, hold the space, show them we're serious. Yeah. Just like a protest. Someone shouted, raising their clenched fist. Others followed suit, echoing the sentiment. We're here for Mrs. West. Charlie felt a spark of hope flaring in his chest. This wasn't just about money or even just about Mrs. West. It was about their lives, their homes, their hearts. Each face shining with determination reminded him why he was doing this in the first place. Let us come together, right now, for our community. He shouted, raising his voice to match the growl of rising energy. As if fueled by his words, the crowd erupted. More people joined, filling the space with life and purpose. They were holding hands, linking arms, and standing firm, defiant against anything trying to break them apart. But just as the atmosphere surged with fresh energy, a figure emerged from the police car parked nearby. It was Officer Morales, a familiar face in town, and one who had often smiled warmly at Charlie on his way to school. "All right, folks. I know what you're trying to do here." Morales raised a hand, his expression serious but not unkind. "But let us keep it peaceful, yeah? We're not here to ruin the event, we just want to ensure everyone is safe." Charlie took a step forward, heart racing yet again. "Officer Morales, we're not here to cause trouble. We're here to show support for Mrs. West. We want to raise awareness for her fight." The crowd murmured, and Charlie could feel the sparks of hope escalating again. "Look," Morales said, giving in to the energy of the crowd. "As long as you're respectful and don't block the road or disturb the neighborhood, you can have your gathering. Just keep it civil." A chorus of cheers erupted, mingling with shouts of joy. "Thank you, officer," Charlie exclaimed, letting out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. The tension began to melt away, replaced by an undertow of renewed purpose. As people started to chant again, Charlie felt a wave of exhilaration wash over him. They had turned their fear into action. But deeper inside him, a flicker of concern remained. They still needed to find a way to raise those funds, quickly, before time turned against them. What if the crowd's enthusiasm faded without a clear next step? The tone of the night transformed as their voices surged out like a beacon of hope through the darkness. "Let us brainstorm ideas," he shouted, pulling Ellie close. If we could put on a concert or a bake sale, that might help. Charlie felt more energized than ever, but even as he tossed around ideas, he couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was looming just out of reach. How far would he need to go to truly save the person he loved most? Would he have to dig deeper within himself than he ever thought possible? As that thought settled in his heart, he realized this was only the beginning of a much deeper fight. What would it take to keep the spirit alive, even with the stakes so incredibly high? The crowd's energy crackled like static in the air, each voice blending into a powerful chorus of hope. Charlie looked at Ellie, her eyes shining with determination. They had rallied, but the next step loomed before him, the daunting question of how to gather both the funds and the community's spirit to support Mrs. West. "Maybe we could organize a dinner," Ellie suggested, her mind racing. "Everyone could bring a dish, and we could charge a small fee for those who want to join. It'll be an event kind of like a potluck." "Yeah. Food always brings people together," Charlie replied, trying to quell his anxiety with enthusiasm. But as he looked at the faces around him, every smile also felt like a weight. They were counting on him. "Let us not stop there," he pushed himself, heart racing. "What if we set up a GoFundMe page? People can donate from anywhere. Every dollar counts." The buzz of agreement rippled through the crowd. He grew bolder, gesturing with energy. "And we can include a schedule of events. We can have contests, games for the kids, maybe even some live music." The more he spoke, the more ideas flowed. A raffle. T-shirt sales. Outside of him, conversation sparkled to life as neighbors called out their thoughts and suggestions. The noise built into a cacophony, but within it, Charlie felt the pulse of unity. As he swayed with the flow, he caught sight of Mrs. West's husband, Mr. West, standing slightly apart from the crowd. His face was tight, and Charlie's heart twisted at the sight. He felt a knot in his throat. Mr. West had always been so kind to him growing up. Without thinking, Charlie made his way through the sea of bodies until he reached Mr. West, his hands fidgeting nervously. "Mr. West, we're going to do everything we can to help," he promised, the urgency creeping into his voice. The older man looked down at him, his face a mask of worry. "I appreciate that, Charlie, but you don't understand how far behind we are. It's not just money, there's so much at stake." His voice faltered, the grand weight of helplessness hanging in the air like thick fog. "I know it feels heavy," Charlie replied, struggling for solace. "But look around. You have people who care. We can lift you both. We can fight together." Tears glistened in Mr. West's eyes, and Charlie felt a rush of empathy. "You're just a kid," he whispered, though his voice was softening. "I don't want you to carry this burden." A pang of understanding hit Charlie. Part of him wanted to meet the need head-on, to prove everyone could count on him, that he could be brave and strong. "But I want to. I can't sit by when I see someone I care about going through this. Let us tackle it." Mr. West ruffled Charlie's hair affectionately, a brief smile breaking through the sorrow. "You've got a good heart," he said, his voice low. "Just promise me you'll be careful." Charlie nodded, a mix of determination and vulnerability rushing through him. The fight hadn't reached its end, far from it. It was just beginning. The night wore on, filled with ideas, laughter, and a growing sense of purpose. But as they laid plans, Charlie's heart carried an unfamiliar heaviness. The stakes were rising, and deep in his gut, he sensed the tide of challenges still ahead. As they wrapped up their brainstorming, a chilling breeze swept through, snuffing out the last rays of sunset. A thought crossed Charlie's mind, a single, daunting question that twisted his insides: what if it wasn't just about fundraising? What if he had to sacrifice more than just time and creativity to save Mrs. West? He looked back at the crowd, determined faces blurring together, united in their cause. But as he held firm to their collective hope, one thought still hung in the air: was he truly prepared for the sacrifices that lay ahead? And so, with the night stretching before them and the darkness creeping in, the true battle began. As the night wore on and the twilight deepened, Charlie felt the weight of his own thoughts mix with the excitement sizzling in the air. The glow from the street lamps flickered like tiny beacons, illuminating faces filled with eagerness and anxiety. Each person here was a thread in a tapestry of hope, woven tighter by their shared purpose. But deep down, Charlie felt a chill, as if he were standing at the edge of an abyss, peering into the unknown. He looked at Ellie, who was already jotting down ideas spilling from their neighbors. Passion radiated from her, inspiring those around her. "We can set a goal. If we can raise $1,000, we can help with medical bills, maybe even get Mrs. West some therapy," she suggested, eyes sparkling. "Yeah. A goal." Charlie echoed, his heart pounding. Setting a target could ignite that community spark even brighter. Together, they could lift Mrs. West from the brink. But a sobering thought twisted in his gut: what if they fell short? What if they tried their best but it wasn't enough? Mr. West cleared his throat. "You know," he started, voice barely above a whisper, "the truth is, we're already behind on bills. Even with all of your help, I'm worried it won't be enough. It's a steep mountain." A strange mix of fear and resolve surged in Charlie, igniting a fire deep within him. "Then we climb it together," he said, surprising even himself with the conviction in his voice. "I'll do whatever it takes." Ellie glanced at him, curiosity painting her face. "What do you mean?" "I mean," he took a deep breath, trying to steady the racing thoughts, "I'll put my allowance on the line. We could hit that goal faster if I give what I can. Even if it's all of it." The breath in the crowd drew sharp. Charlie could almost hear their collective disbelief. He felt young, almost foolish, but the weight of urgency pushed him forward. He wanted to feel useful, to help in a real, tangible way. Slowly, the mood shifted. Mr. West's brow furrowed, worry morphing into something softer. "Son, you don't have to put that burden on your shoulders. You're just 12, but I want to." Charlie interjected, voice firm. "Mrs. West is like family to me. I won't just stand by. I'd do anything for her." Mutters coursed through the crowd, some approving, others skeptical. Ellie looked at him, eyes glistening. "That's brave, Charlie," she said softly. "If you really want to, I'll back you up. But we need to make sure it counts for something." In that moment, Charlie's blood rushed with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. The thought of giving away all he had before even knowing if it would make a difference was terrifying. It forced him to confront what he truly valued. Mr. West sighed deeply, the lines of his face flickering between pride and concern. "Your heart is bigger than most adults," he said finally, pulling Charlie close for a moment. "But don't forget your worth doesn't hinge on one act. You matter too, kid." Their eyes locked, and Charlie nodded, though uncertainty still tangled in his thoughts. Yes, he wanted to help, to be a hero not just for Mrs. West, but to show the whole community they could fight together. Yet, was he ready to risk so much of himself? The crowd erupted in murmurs again, discussing the next steps with renewed vigor. Raffles, cook-offs, bake sales, all fueled by the energy that Charlie had ignited. But beneath the surface of excitement lay a restless undercurrent of worry. As they began to formulate plans, Charlie glanced up at the stars peppering the deep blue sky. Each twinkling light seemed to whisper possibilities, yet the shadows of doubt lurked just out of reach. If only he could see the path ahead clearly. Could simple acts of love truly make an impact significant enough to save someone they all cared about? With the weight of the world pressing against his chest, Charlie stepped closer to the center of the crowd, heart pounding in synchrony with the shared pulse of hope. But as the night deepened, one burning question lingered at the back of his mind: what if his greatest sacrifice was yet to come? Charlie's thoughts swirled as the meeting came to life around him. Ideas bounced from person to person like popcorn kernels in a hot pan. Raffles and bake sales began to take shape, but one fear pressed down on him like a weight. How would they ever raise enough? Could they really climb that steep mountain? Ellie stepped up, her voice piercing through the chatter. Why don't we start with a bake sale this weekend? Everyone loves cookies and brownies. The crowd nodded, energized. It was a good idea, simple and sweet, just like their mission. Yeah. Someone shouted from the back. We could even have a car wash. I know my dad would let us use the parking lot at his garage. The momentum grew. Ideas spiraled, forming a web of actions woven with determination. Old Mr. Granger, a local carpenter, stood up. I'll donate materials for signs, he offered. We need to spread the word. Cheers erupted, and Charlie felt a ripple of hope move through him. But amidst the enthusiasm, his heart raced with a different fear. What if they failed? What if they worked hard, yet the funds remained just out of reach? He glanced at Ellie, her enthusiasm unwavering, and wished he shared her unfaltering confidence. Over the weeks, he poured into every task. The weekend of the bake sale arrived. Baking with Ellie felt like a lifetime of fun, laughing, flour dusting their faces, and ideas colliding. They made countless trays of cookies and brownies, the scents enveloping their small kitchen. But even wrapped in that joy, Charlie felt that looming shadow, the weight of the money he had pledged. If it all fell flat, was he willing to lose everything he had saved? His allowance had been for a reason: small but meaningful trips to the arcade with Ellie, treats after school, the dreams of a new bike. When the sale came, the sun spilled bright light across their small town. Tables filled with pastries, brightly decorated signs flapping in the breeze, customers streamed in. Charlie felt alive, but with each happy face that flocked towards their goodies, a pang of anxiety clenched tighter in his gut. After hours of hard work, the money poured in. At the end of the day, with cash piled high in a box before them, he let himself breathe. They had done it. But still, his thoughts spun. What good was this without more? Finally, once the shouts of excitement quieted, he raised his voice. I think we should announce our goal tonight. We've raised $400, but we have to keep pushing. We need that 1,000. Eyes turned to him, caught off guard. A silence fell. Mr. West stepped forward, pride mingling with concern in his eyes. You're a brave young man, Charlie, he said gently. But we can't ask so much from you. His heart thundered as he felt the crowd watching, waiting. He glanced at his allowance saved in his pocket, the promise he made pulsing in his mind with every heartbeat. He stepped forward. I'll put my $500 on the line. If it means saving Mrs. West, I have to do it. Gasps rippled through the crowd. His heart beat fiercely against the finality of his words. What? Ellie whispered, shock painting her features. You don't need to do that. But Charlie felt resolute. It's not just money. It's love and care for someone who has given so much to us. I want her to know she isn't alone. In that moment, he felt the heat of determination flood his entire being. This was his calling. Yet, as everyone began to rally around him, one thought threaded through the gathered crowd. Would this truly be the tipping point? Would his sacrifice be enough? The night loomed ahead, filled with uncertainty and expectation. Would they rise together, or would they falter in the face of hardship? As the evening sun dipped below the horizon, turning the sky into a canvas of fiery oranges and gentle purples. The atmosphere buzzed with an electric energy. The bake sale had been a tremendous success. Over $400 raised felt like an impossible dream just weeks before. But as Charlie stood at the center of the parking lot, surrounded by friends and neighbors, he felt the weight of his decision like a stone in his pocket. The world spun around him, a whirlwind of excitement and palpable hope, but he couldn't shake the anxiety snaking through his gut. Charlie. Ellie's voice cut through his thoughts. Are you sure about this? Putting your allowance on the line? Her eyes glimmered with concern, mirroring the unease that clawed at him. You don't have to do it alone. I know, Charlie replied, feeling a sense of determination wash over him. But Mrs. West is worth every penny I've saved. This isn't just about the money, it's about showing her that we care. I have to do something more than just stand on the sidelines. A murmur ran through the crowd, surprise mingling with admiration. The words hung heavy in the air. Was this brave or incredibly reckless? Mr. West stepped forward, emotion pinching his features. Charlie, I appreciate your heart more than you know, he said, voice thick with gratitude. But don't feel you have to shoulder this for us. We're grateful for everything. But Charlie shook his head, heart racing. I want to do this. We all want to prove to her that she isn't alone. And in that moment, something shifted. The eyes watching him weren't just witnessing a boy's sacrifice, they were seeing a community, their community rallying for one of their own. Let us make this happen. Someone shouted from the back. Let us unite. With renewed energy, ideas skyrocketed. Someone shouted a suggestion for a talent show, another for a community dinner. Laughter and voices rose like fireworks, igniting fresh resolve. The fire of unity flickered brilliantly and burned away Charlie's fear. As if triggered by Charlie's bravery, the crowd buzzed with excitement, determination painted across every face. They shared stories, memories of Mrs. West, her laughter, her kindness, how she touched each of their lives. She was there for me when I lost my job, Mr. Martinez said. I can't let her down. Me too, chimed in Mrs. Thompson. She volunteered at our library every week. Each story sharpened their purpose, solidifying the bond they already shared. That night, the air rang with laughter and the echo of their collective heartbeat. They organized the fundraiser schedule like clockwork. The talent show would be the highlight, planned for next weekend. As excitement kicked up like autumn leaves caught in a breeze, Charlie felt lighter. The fear that once gripped him began to dissolve with the realization that he was not alone in this fight for his mother and for his community. Then, as he caught a glimpse of the banner his dad had helped him make, a bright yellow with "Together for Mrs. West" splashed on it in vibrant colors, his heart swelled. All the pieces were falling into place under the glow of star-studded skies. Days turned into a blur of rehearsals for the talent show, cooking sessions for community dinners, and laughter shared over piles of dessert trays. And with each laugh, each meeting, Charlie learned something crucial: love layered with action could move mountains. The night of the talent show arrived, its atmosphere charged with excitement. A crowd gathered, laughter blending with the sounds of children playing, their innocence a beautiful contrast to the struggles simmering beneath the surface. Charlie's heart thumped loudly in his ears as he stood backstage with Ellie, both of them hiding behind a curtain, peering out at the sea of faces ready to cheer. Do you think we raised enough? He asked, anxiety creeping back like an unwelcome shadow. Does it really matter? Ellie replied, a warm smile breaking the nervous tension. You brought everyone together, Charlie. That's what counts. And when it came time for Charlie to take the stage, he felt time slow. He was about to address everyone who had gathered for Mrs. West, about to claim their collective power with words. With a fleeting glance at Ellie, the warmth of their friendship anchored him. My mom always said that when the world feels too heavy, that's when you find out who truly stands by you, he started, allowing every word to resonate from his heart. And I see all of you here, standing with us. Together, we raised money, but more importantly, we raised each other up. Cheers erupted from the crowd, waves of support washing over him, giving him strength. As the talent show unfolded, laughter and applause filled the air. Friends and neighbors sang, danced, and performed, showcasing talents that lit up the night's darkness. Each act poured love into that space, wrapping around Charlie and igniting hope in his heart like the warmth of a campfire. By the end of the night, the total announcement sent a quiver of awe through everyone. Over $2,000. Someone shouted. Gasps followed, and then, energy surged, pushing the atmosphere to new heights. At that moment, he spotted Mrs. West in the audience, a ghost of a smile flickering on her pale face. Just for a minute, he got to witness the flicker of hope refurbishing her spirit, and it sent shivers of warmth down his spine. His sacrifice was being acknowledged, and they had done something remarkable. They were a family, a community bonded by love, standing strong next to one another even in the face of despair. In the weeks that followed, her treatment started to show promise. In her eyes, the light sparkled brighter, and the shadows faded. As Charlie stood at her side, he didn't regret a single moment, every ounce of energy, every tear shed, every dollar sacrificed. Love had blossomed in the face of uncertainty and fear, sending ripples of change throughout their town. And as for Charlie, he discovered the depth of his own strength. He was a part of something profound, something that had no bounds. A testament to what a community could do when they band together for love. He realized that while he had given what little he had, he was receiving something far more significant in return, a family forged in the fires of compassion and solidarity. Never doubt the power of love, he whispered to himself that night as he looked up at the stars twinkling overhead, not just within the vastness of the universe but pulling strength from the community that felt like home. They had created a tangible force of love that could conquer all, and Charlie smiled, radiating with hope not just for now, but for all the tomorrows yet to come. This was his transformation, and it felt like magic. Now, we stand at the end of this amazing journey. If you're inspired by Charlie's story, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like, because your engagement feeds the algorithm. Comment your feelings about this incredible ending, and share your reactions. Don't wait not even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need a dose of inspiration from this transformation. Your support means the world. Show it.